Good morning and welcome to FAWKES News. Big show for you guys today. We've got to get through a whole bunch of things. We have this Kamala Anthony bond reduction, Cinco de Mayo canceled, but why? Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. The media is lying to you yet again. Shocker. We're never going to get through this if we can't come to terms with how awful and despicable our mainstream media is. And I don't care if you are on the right or the left. Please don't be upset with me when I tell you that independent journalism, when it comes from the mainstream media, is dead. It doesn't exist. Maybe in some far vast galaxy in a far, far away place, there is some journalist that's attempting to try to be an independent journalist, but the big mainstream machine just pushes that man down. And then they end up being red pilled, like Tim Pool or Joe Rogan or Russell, not Kurt, Russell Brand, excuse me. And so that's why we see a lot of these folks being red pilled, because we know we're not getting the truth. And yet again, with this whole Cinco de Mayo canceled from ICE, it is 100% a lie. And we're gonna get into it because it's not even the lie that you think it is. It's even worse than what maybe you're like, oh well, Cinco de Mayo is not really getting. No, they are canceling Cinco de Mayo, but they are not canceling Cinco de Mayo for the reasons that you think. The mainstream media, we're gonna get into it. I don't want to blow my wad too early. We have this space flight, this satanic space flight question mark. Now, again, being shrouded in, they use the term conspiracy theorists blame Satanism, or they find satanic symbology. Is it hyperbolic? Probably. That's probably hyperbolic. Although it's fun to talk about, and they don't really do themselves a lot of justice in some of the ways that they decide to design these brands or who they choose to send up in space. And that's why it's talked about. Maybe that's what they intended the whole time. Maybe it was like, this would be fun. It will make people talk about this. And so I also want to know in the live chats, because this is a live YouTube show, do you guys think that this space trip was even real? A lot of people don't think it's real. I think it'll be fun to at least chat about it. Also, as promised from yesterday's very brief quickie, because I knew I wasn't going to have time to get through it all in its totality today. So please go back and listen to yesterday's episode. It's only, it was a shorter episode, I believe. But political extremism on the rise, but from who? Who is guilty of this extreme political terrorism that is going on across our country? Is it the media to blame? Is it the left? Is it the right? Who is it? Who is doing this? And how far is it going? And how far will it continue to go? And then, of course, we have this another media lie about wrongful deportations, just lie after lie. And so today's show, I mean, basically, we could say today's show is just nothing. We could have titled today's show political extreme lies from mainstream media. That would have been a better title, maybe, because when I started researching for this show throughout the week, it's annoying to me. Here's why sometimes, like, this is why I think Alex Jones comes across the way he does, because it will drive you crazy. And then when you try to have conversations with people who are hiding behind the veil, who have closed their eyes, who put their heads in the sand, who do not follow independent journalism, who don't follow the story, and they keep trying to cut in every other episode, you're kind of going nuts on trying to explain to them. A good example would be, like, imagine being into Game of Thrones and somebody comes in on episode 2 and has a whole bunch of questions, but then they skip episode 3 and then they hit you up in episode 5 and they have all these questions. It would drive you. You're like, what are you talking about? Cersei's a good person. Did you not see what she did in episode 1? Did you not see what Cersei was guilty of in episode blah, 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 blah? Did you not see what they did to the little boy when they pushed him out of the window, blah, 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 blah? You know what I mean? Because if you didn't catch that part, you might start to empathize with Cersei in other episodes because she appears to be a good person, or the Mountain. Maybe you think the Mountain is a really bad guy, but you're like, wait, he's not really all that bad because he gave a break. And so it's like, if you don't follow it episode by episode, you're gonna have the wrong perception on who's doing good and who's doing bad. That's a great example. It's probably the best example. And so when I'm trying to explain to people from the right and the left on what's really going on, I have to get excited because I'm like, did you not see episode 1 of this when we talked about it back in July of 2024? Did you miss that whole episode where they told Biden back in episode 1 in May and June that he was great and he was fine and that there was nothing wrong with him and that a medical expert cleared him? And then we see in episode 2 in July where he completely messes up that debate. And then they're like, all these same experts are gone. And now the experts say that he is in a cognitive decline. And then we're going to put out in episode 3, Kamala Harris without voting her out. Like, did you guys miss all that? Did you miss the episodes, the COVID episodes in the first season when all the experts, you know what I mean? Like, do you guys understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? It's like, it's super hard to have a conversation with somebody rationally when they haven't watched the episode. You get excited about it. Now I understand why Alex Jones gets excited, or why I even sometimes want to get excited when I'm doing these shows, because I'm like, you have these conversations with people and they're so out of touch with the actual reality that it makes you passionate about how dumb they are. And I say that immediately, and good for them, right? Good for them for being able to put their heads in the sand and ignore it. Good for them. But then they try to get involved, and that's what it's like. If you don't want to watch Game of Thrones, great, don't watch it. But please don't come in on episode 3 and start asking me a whole bunch of questions or giving me your opinion, your ridiculous opinion on what you think about any of these characters when you really don't have any idea what's going on in the show. Stop. And my whole life, because I do political commentary, is that, and it's hard because they want these conversations to be done in 2 to 3 minutes in the locker room while changing out, or they want it to be done while you're at the skate park in between skateboarding runs. They want these quick answers, and they think they have something, right? They think that they have this golden nugget, and then they give it to you, and then you're like, gosh, man, I'm so embarrassed for you. Like, I know that you think Cersei's a good person, but she screws her brother in episode 1, like literally has sex with her brother in episode 1, and then kills a child or attempts to kill a child that catches them, right? You know what I mean? And so it's just sometimes it's frustrating. And this is the week I felt like that this week. And this all started for me because I went to I shop at a Mexican hacienda. Let me bring on today's co-host, which is Jason Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Jason, you will be able to attest to the story because you've seen it with your own eyes. You know what I'm talking about. You know about this Mexican hacienda I'm about to talk about. Before I do, though, today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com. Sleep so good it's scary. That's why I'm so energized and passionate, because I get a wonderful night's sleep on my ghost bed. Use the promo code Wolfpack now. That deal, the 40 to 50% off site-wide. We're talking about the lifelong pillow. This pillow will last you forever. That's not part of the advertisement. I'm just telling you, I own, like, I think at this point, 5 or 6 ghost bed pillows, and we travel with them all over the place to skate contests, mainly to skate contests, podcasting events, comedy events, and they're in the vans, they're in the cars with all my family of 7. They're getting stepped on and skateboards thrown on and surfboard wax dripped on them, and they fall out of the car and in the car. These pillows are the strongest, toughest, thickest pillows of all time. I'm so impressed by their pillows. I'll never sleep on anything different. The cooling sheets, by the way, the cooling technology on the ghost beds, insane. The pillows, because you never have to flip your pillow over all night long. And when you put your hands underneath the pillow, it's super cold and frigid. And then when you put your hands on top of the pillow, it's super cold and frigid. It's like that cooling technology. It's always there. And then, of course, you got the cooling sheets and the massage topper. That's how I'm doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai at almost 41 years old at this point. And I'm training 3 to 4 days a week and doing all of these things. And the massage topper is a big part of getting me through my day to day, because at the end of the day, I know that I have this ghost bed massage topper. It's like a home chiropractic, and it uses that zero gravity massage where it's like air and it'll like press up one shoulder while deflating the other shoulder, and it gets you that little pop and it goes all up and down your back. It's wonderful. And then of course the Ghost bed with the adjustable base. You can adjust this thing all the way up into damn near a couch. Watch podcasts on YouTube for all you weirdos who watch podcasts. By the way, a bunch of weirdos here today. Bone Cold Fleas Austin, Tyler S., Low Ren, Wilk Ray, still single and ready to mingle. By the way, Liz Marie, one of our paid fans, she's a Patreon. She's in the Discord, I believe. But Liz, and I think she's over around the Indiana area, if I'm not mistaken. But she's single and ready to mingle. So I don't know. Maybe there's some Fox Media, some Fox News Failure to Stop podcast fandom hookup here. I don't know that we could facilitate. Looking for love in all the right places. You've come to the right place.
I think she's actually in Cincinnati when we do our meetup. They might be.
Oh, good. In August, yeah, or September, whenever we're doing that. It was August, right? Late August.
August.
Yeah. Late August. So we could probably get Will Craig because he's been to a lot of our meetups, Texas, Florida, and North Carolina. Maybe he comes to Cincinnati and, whatever. I mean, that's how you and Jill met, right? Through Failure to Stop podcast.
It's exactly.
You guys were both inmates at the same prison listening to the same podcast at the time. Fell in love. You love Transy? I love Transy too.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Those are my sex noises. Low Ren is in the chats. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, so for you weirdos who are watching the podcast, you can use Wolfpack, the promo code Wolfpack at ghostbed.com. And that deal, the 40 to 50% off for the first time in 4 or 5 years, is actually going away at the end of this month. So get it now. And then we also have factormeals.com/Wolfpack50, factormeals.com/Wolfpack50, meal planning to the next level. Okay, so let me go back. Thank you for the sponsors who are sponsoring and promoting today's show. And thank you for being here from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Make sure you follow Jason Kiefer, Chief Keef from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Thank you for being here. But I shop at the Mexican Hacienda almost every single day. It was right across the street from my old studio. I love it. I know where everything in the grocery store is. It's very small. Nobody speaks English. That's great. So I don't have to worry about anybody talking to me. I go into the Mexican Hacienda, the grocery, and I get all my shit, and then I leave. And then I talk to the produce lady and some of the other people through this app where we can text and it translates it to Spanish. And, again, it's that snapshot I told you where they didn't watch all the episodes because they're working so hard. But did you hear that Cinco de Mayo is canceled and that Trump is going to start taking us away for Cinco de Mayo? One, there's only two major cities that have publicly canceled Cinco de Mayo. Can you guess one of them?
You want me to guess?
Yeah, just throw out a guess. Two major cities. Think about a major city that would have a major Cinco de Mayo festival that they might cancel.
Let's go Chicago.
Bingo, bongo, bango. You cheated, probably. Yes, but Chicago. So there's two, Chicago and Philadelphia. All right. All over the news. If you type in right now, Cinco de Mayo, that is what comes up first. Not Wikipedia, not anything. If you Google Cinco de Mayo, it's Cinco de Mayo canceled. Cinco de Mayo canceled. ICE to invade Cinco de Mayo. Okay. It is canceled in two major cities. If you actually read the articles. And the two major cities that are canceling Cinco de Mayo are Chicago and Philadelphia. Now, because I watch every single episode of this. I watch every single episode. I already knew what happened in last year's episode of Cinco de Mayo. And July 4th. And Juneteenth in Chicago. I remember what happened. And so I quickly went and Googled what happened in that episode, because I think I remember correctly, but let me go back. Let me go back to 2024. Let me check in with Eyewitness 7 News out of Chicago in 2024. No, I'm sorry. That one boofed me. Let's go to see that the Chicago Cinco de Mayo eyewitness. I'll go ahead and read you the article. It says Chicago Cinco de Mayo parade canceled over Trump immigration policy fears, organizers say. But if we look at what the news had to say about 2024, let me give you the headlines. Chicago abruptly canceled Cinco de Mayo parade over extreme gang violence. Police say West Side Cinco de Mayo parade was canceled and interrupted by gang violence. From WGN TV. Chicago, CBS. Chicago Cinco de Mayo parade altered due to gang violence after shots were fired at the parade in a little village. 27 arrested on NBC5 Chicago. On May 6, 2024. 27 arrested as gang violence impacts Chicago's Cinco de Mayo. They canceled last year's Cinco de Mayo due to gang violence. Here we go. Fox 32 of Chicago. Fox 32 Chicago. May 5th. Cinco de Mayo parade canceled due to gang violence. WGN News. West Side Cinco de Mayo celebrations canceled after reports of gang threats and violence. CBS Chicago. Cinco de Mayo parade in Chicago marred by gang violence on May 6, 2024. But then we go over to Eyewitness 7 today and all the other headlines. Chicago Cinco de Mayo canceled over Trump's immigration policies. Why, Jason, is the media boldface lying to you and trying to create this chaos?
Because it's too easy and they don't want to do their actual jobs of like reporting real news. It's an easy thing for them to hang their hat on because, the world that we're living in right now. But, the orange man is bad and he's the cause of all of this chaos.
Right.
He's
deporting violent
up
gang members from Chicago so that you can have a Chicago Day parade, and then you cancel your Chicago Day parade and you blame it on Donald Trump, even though the reason why you had to cancel it to begin with in the last 2 freaking years is because of gang violence in your stupid city.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely astounding.
Because more gaslighting, Loren says, and I can't agree with you more, Loren. And this is why this whole week I've been waiting to do this show, and I've had to ever since I walked in on Monday to my Mexican hacienda. Shout out Campari Foods of Clayton, North Carolina. Shout out. But these poor folks have been brainwashed and manipulated by the mainstream, by the people who don't actually watch the freaking show, have them scared to death that ICE is they're canceling Cinco de Mayo because listen, no cop wants to fuck with a Mexican on Cinco de Mayo because we love tacos. I can tell you from a former first responder, from a former police officer who literally wrote a book all about law. Like I am a law enforcement guy. I'm pro blue. I will tell you that nobody supports Mexican haciendas and Mexican taco shops more than cops. We fucking love. You know why? Because the Mexican's not going to spit in your food. Because the Mexican is going to be polite and kind and generous. When we go to the Taco Bells and the Wendy's in the hood, we're met with hostility. If we go to Starbucks, the little blue-haired, no mental illness, nose trinket woman is going to give me beef, is going to give me shit. She's going to give me the cold shoulder. I've never got in the cold shoulder at Le Moreta's hot Mexican tacos, which has the hottest taco sauce like on the planet, by the way. And I don't even think they're Mexican. I think they're like Aztecian or something. But anyway, they are always so happy to see you, and they love to see you, and they like to see your chips, and they give you the extra chips and the extra queso, and like they know we're not gonna fuck with them. They know that.
Well, it's funny, and before we went live, we were talking, but when I got the list of topics and whatnot, and started doing some digging, it brought me back. Like I just had a stupid mental image. And I asked you if you remembered the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with Dick Van Dyke. And all I could picture was all these ICE agents at the end of the parade route, just sitting there with this wagon, just getting ready. Just come on, kids. I've got your tacos. I've got your candy. Let's go. But it's just
as they swing for the pinata, like a net drops, captures them.
Yeah, I mean, the media throwing that spin on it when they've already created a baseline over the last couple of years. I mean, it's laughable when you sit there and look at it, and like you said, like deep dive back in and not just take verbatim what they said.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, man. This drives me nuts. Which again goes to another media lie, which is the whole Mexican deportations lie. Mm-hmm. So now we have this fellow who's been deported, and Kamel Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man. He's a Maryland man, Jason. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a Maryland man. He's a Maryland man. But he just happens to be from El Salvador.
Weird.
He happens to be caught up in lots of MS-13 gang-related violence. He's on the radar so much in his stint here as a Maryland man that the U.S. District Court back in 2019, they had to give him some kind of like, we're not going to deport you if you get your life right type kind of plea deal. But he doesn't get his life right. And here's the crazy thing is we turn these Kilmar Abrego Garcias into like Robin Hoods. But we don't pay attention to the fact that the MS-13 gang members live a life of being absolutely terrible to women. They like to beat the women. They like to have sex with underage girls. Matter of fact, I had more underage sex-related cases that were Mexican related, illegal immigrant related, mainly through trafficking than any other race out there. I would argue that Asians have a pretty bad stint of it too, but we, for whatever reason, will just ignore it. We ignore the massage parlors. We ignore, the underground Asian sex trade. Again, I don't know, like, do we have some kind of a deal with like Asian countries that we just like traffic sex victims across it? I don't feel like law enforcement gives as much of a fuck as they do about the Mexican females. Like, why aren't the Asian females on the top of the list too? You know what I mean? They're being trafficked. I think Asians are getting trafficked more than anyone through work, being forced labor to pay off their debts to come over to the United States. So they have to work at these Chinese restaurants, and there's all sorts of weird kind of trafficking, slavery type things that goes on in the Asian community. But for whatever reason, we just kind of ignore it. But now we have these MS-13 gang members who literally funnel and traffic loads and loads of drugs, more drugs than anybody else in the world, into the United States. And it comes through big, giant gang cartels that use MS-13 and all sorts of other people. And matter of fact, this story gets even deeper because he has confidential informants that have been watching him, that he's still involved in these gang activities. And then they make it rich, or they make it big off of feeding your kids fentanyl. After abusing women, after doing all of these things, promoting younger teens, funneling money to them. Sometimes when we catch these 28-year-old gang members that have already done 6 or 7 years in prison, and they give you the you can't blame me for this drive-by shooting because I didn't do it. No, but you facilitated a 13-year-old kid, and you brainwashed a 13-year-old kid that if he does it, he's going to be out of prison just like you by the time he's 28, and he's going to have all this high-ranking gang. So all you got to do is do your drive-by shooting now. Try not to get caught, but if you do get caught, you're only going to do a certain amount of years in prison. You're going to get out, and you are going to be me. You're going to be a top dog. You're going to be a real G. All you got to do is go and take out this hit, and then the kid doesn't get the hit, and this gang member walks around like he Mr. fucking innocent. And then he goes to your city commission meetings, your city council meetings, and he's praised and hailed because he's telling you that cops are doing too many illegal searches. There's too many cops in our neighborhood. They're holding the black man down. They're holding the Mexican man down. The immigrant ICE is invading our rights, and da-da-da. And then you guys take it spoonful heaps at a time, and you ingest it, and you swallow it, and you actually enjoy it, and you pretend like you care, but you're caring for the wrong fucking person. Because all the other Mexicans and all the other black people that are living in that inner city are suffering at the hands of these manipulative, disgusting tyrants of people who thought that getting to the top of gang life, just like politicians will do anything and destroy any life to climb the political ladder, these gang pieces of shit will climb the gang ladder to the top by killing people. And you guys love them and you praise them. Why? Why do you do this? Why do you care? The Hill, Pam Bondi, federal courts have no authority to direct the executive branch to conduct foreign relations in a particular way or engage with a foreign sovereign in a given manner, Trump officials said in the filing. Speaking from the White House on Monday, Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele said that he had no plans to return Abrego Garcia to the U.S. How could I return him to the United States? I smuggled him to the United States. Of course, I'm not going to do it. The question is preposterous. And so let me go back and tell you kind of what's going on here. So the Trump who sends these MS-13 criminals, rounds them up, send them to El Salvador. All of a sudden, the courts found one guy who had some kind of district court order, which I went and read into, and it just sounds absolutely ridiculous. And it happened in 2019 at the top of the sanctuary city. And I lived this myself because we had a drunk Mexican kill somebody. And all of a sudden, so we wanted to bring ICE in. And they were actually defending this ICE agent. We had another police officer killed by a Mexican gang member, and the protesters came and rallied to keep him safe from ICE. He fucking shot one of our cops in cold blood, checking on him, doing a welfare check. The guy was pulled over on the side of the road, broke down on the side of the road, and when the cop came, when the sheriff deputy went and approached the side door, they shot him in the fucking face. He didn't even see it coming. He was out on a welfare check, making sure that that's the call we don't want to even take to begin with, that flat tire, because then we're probably gonna have to help somebody change a flat tire, or we're gonna have to help somebody wait to get a tow truck. It's not sexy. It's not great. It's not the call that we ask God to protect us on. But here we are doing the Lord's work, being a selfless servant, and he got shot in the face with it. And the same people that are trying to protect this El Salvadorian Abrego Garcia are the same people that rallied to keep ICE from getting involved in the murder of the sheriff deputy. It's absolutely asinine. And so this whole thing is just like that. It's that whole sanctuary city where this guy commits a couple of crimes, and to spite political rivals, they say, okay, well, we're going to not allow ICE to, and we're going to give them this like this district court kind of this like grant of leniency. So let me just read it. Go ahead.
Is Raleigh a sanctuary city? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know if it was actually deemed. So Raleigh does a really good job of like politically, because it's a purple state, meaning that it could go blue or red at any election. And so they do a really good job of like catering to both sides. So they won't call it a sanctuary city. However, they removed ICE from all the jails, but then the media never made like a big deal about it. Or when Chief Deck Brown had all of the Donald Trump, the president, we've always had the picture of the president, the commander in chief, the secretary of defense, the police chief, and then the assistant chief, and then the city mayor and the city manager have always had their pictures on the wall in every precinct. So you knew who like the top ranking officials were. Well, when Trump was elected, she had them all removed from all the precincts because she didn't want to see Trump's picture on the wall. And, again, the city never made a big deal about that. But that's what we're dealing with. Political crybabies, right? Nobody else has done that.
I was just curious.
No, you're fine. It's a good question. So let me read what Pam Bondi said in the Hill, and then I want to propose a question to you. But Attorney General Pam Bondi said Monday that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador, is not a Maryland man. And I agree. Abrego Garcia, who is a Salvadorian, illegally immigrated to the U.S. in 2011 as a teenager. Now we hear teenager, and here in America, you think a teenager is a little boy. I went to a wrestling tournament this weekend, and the parents wanted to. My son has a nosebleed. He's a wrestler. He has a nosebleed. What do we do? Well, where is my son supposed to check in? Honey, do you have your water? I mean, I was blown away at how babied and coddled these teenagers were. And I homeschool my kids. And my son emptied out an entire gas tank of his dirt bike, cleaned out a carburetor, put it all back together, and then was riding his dirt bike around. When I asked him what he did for the day, he said, "Oh, I cleaned out my gas tank because I think there was a little bit of water in the gas. I stripped apart the carburetor and I put it all back together, and it's running like a gem." He's 12.
I was going to say, all of your kids. Every one of them, even the baby, is probably more mature than most fucking children right now.
And that's the way it is in places like El Salvador and Costa Rica. When I was in Afghanistan, we met this like 8-year-old, 9-year-old child that was on a 6-day journey guiding his goats and his sheep to Kabul to sell them by himself, armed with a sling, like biblical times. I got the pictures. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And his dialect, whatever tribe he came from in Afghanistan, our interpreter, we had 2 different interpreters, Dari and Pashtun, and they couldn't figure out what dialect he was speaking, which meant and indicated to them that he was from, one of these Kuchi tribes that, is still living like in ancient times. But this kid was like 8 or 9 and he was like on a 6-day journey and he had like a satchel of bread, like unleavened bread, the flat bread. And that was it. And like some kind of like container with water. And he had his feet duct taped. He had duct tape around his toes because it's very rocky. So when you hear El Salvadorian teenager, he came here as a teenager, he might as well be a fucking adult because like the rest of the world doesn't coddle teenagers are like fucking men. Mm-hmm. It's not like here in the United States where we've just absolutely pussified and babied our youths. So Abrego illegally immigrated in 2011 as a teenager, but was given a withholding of removal status in 2019. Of course, remember what was going on in 2019, having argued that he faced threats to his life from gang violence in his home country. Well, so you can be a high enough ranking gang member in your own country that you're able to get sponsored. And by the way, yes, you are getting sponsored to go to the United States. You don't just, you have to network. You have to be somewhat of an alpha to weasel your way or to finagle your way. You have to have some kind of wherewithal to get yourself to the United States. It's not an easy journey. It's right. Not for the person who wants to do the right thing. The person who wants to just, live status quo and is a sheep and is obedient to the government and obedient to their way of life. And so they just sheepishly like, I'm not going to make that journey because that would be wrong. And I'm just going to keep my head down and you keep being oppressed where I'm at. This guy was like, no. I want to go and do it. Like he's risen above whatever it is, chosen the dark side. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do any better. I would probably choose the dark side, whatever the anarchist side. I'd probably be a shitbag. I'm not better than this guy. I'm not telling you that I'm better than Abrego Garcia. Giving his situation, I'd probably do the same thing. And I would network because I'm kind of an alpha-ish guy. I'm on the alpha spectrum. I'm not alpha, but like I'm not like a fucking beta little sheep either that just follows status quo. I question the authority. And so I probably would have networked my way here to the United States just as he did. But, here's the thing is he continued, he has to work that gang violence off. He has to continue working for that gang that got him here to begin with. Mm-hmm. Just like the Chinese that get here, they have to work at these Chinese, take-outies and massage parlors to pay off their debts from getting here. But these guys live a life of crime. And so he can't go back. And so even though he was getting in trouble here and the media likes to paint him that he was a sheet metal apprentice. I love it how it's like if they take one college class one time, they're a college student.
Right.
I've seen that 1,000 times. So Bondi during the appearance on Fox News and Jesse Waters Primetime on Monday said none of that made Abrego Garcia a Maryland man, which many media outlets have described him as. Jesse, when you're listening to all these liberal reporters, they keep calling him a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland man. He's part of a foreign terrorist organization. He's a member of MS-13 who, as you laid out in your monologue, came to this country and committed gang acts. That's all he did while he was here. He didn't go to church. He didn't help the youth. He didn't work at the soup kitchen.
I was just going to say.
Abrego Garcia's family has denied the allegation of the ties of MS-13, of course, because they're all liars. That's what they do. The courts have so far found that Trump administration claims unpersuasive. So here we go. So you have this guy. He gets deported, in short, to El Salvador because he is an MS-13 gang member. But then you have this low-level district court, whatever, that says that they gave him some kind of leniency and they didn't deport him because they're sanctuary city because they didn't want him to have to go back and deal with the gang violence. They kind of had like some pity on him. Not any of our problems. Doesn't trump what Trump says. Trump puts him over there. Then the Supreme Court's like, actually, we're going to go ahead and side with these guys. Bring him back. He's from fucking El Salvador. He's in El Salvador Trump administration calls El Salvador. They say, we want this guy back. I guess the courts have ruled that we shouldn't have deported him. And they're like, okay, great. Well, we're not going to send him back. He's in an El Salvadorian prison. We're not going to send him back. And Trump's like, sorry. They're not going to send him back. But what does this have to do with any, like, none of this is our problem. How about you didn't come here and act like a piece of shit, and you wouldn't be treated like a piece of shit. You wouldn't have been, you wouldn't be losing your family. There are consequences. This isn't Robin Hood, by the way. He's not taking from the poor taking from the rich and giving to the poor. He's stealing from the poor to make himself and his family rich.
Like the complete opposite of what Robin Hood would do. Complete opposite. And real quick, back to your point, like how they get here. You know, I think it's one of two ways. I agree with you. You either are like a little bit grown up as a teenager. You're like, yeah, I'm in this gang. Like I'm going to go and I'm going to do a whole bunch of gang shit in America. Or you're part of the gang that if you didn't want to get in, they beat the shit out of you the whole time anyway. And they ship you up here to be essentially to be their legs to do their dirty work. And, you know, all that money goes up. Anything they steal goes up. They don't get to keep shit. So, I mean, either way, you know, he had to grow up as a teenager, you know, when he came here, he had to grow up, you know, pretty rough and be that alpha guy, no matter which way, whether he was, you know, just born that way or whether he was, you know, essentially beat into that existence.
I mean, survival, you got to survive, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and when you're born in these like shitty third world countries, you know, you have to survive, and you're going to run with who's going to keep you alive the longest. And how you're not going to be a victim, right? You're not going to be the oppressed, right? But it doesn't mean what you're doing is right. And it doesn't mean that there's going to be consequences to that, right? Like if I fight on the American side because I believe the Americans are right, I assume the responsibility that if I'm captured, or I could be killed in combat. You know what I mean? I accept those responsibilities. It doesn't matter. Like the Taliban doesn't care that I came over there in good faith. They don't care about my upbringing or how I got into their country. What they know is that you got here, motherfucker, and now you're gonna pay the consequences for coming here.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, like, you know, and maybe we treat each other with respect. And I'm not saying we should be disrespectful to this guy that they're sending back, but at the same time, like, he knew the consequences of his actions, and there are consequences to actions, whether he accepted those or he didn't. It's on him. But again, now we have the media trying to convince you that a Maryland man who's a family man, just because he has kids and a wife, he's a family man, was deported. But they won't talk to you about the guy in my book, the Mexican man who did a drywall project, who's an illegal immigrant, who was working his ass off, did a drywall project, was sitting on his tailgate where he was paid in cash illegally from some probably white Democrat owned business that's paying illegal Mexicans to redo their drywall. And they do it at night, so they don't have to close their business down. And they pay him in cash, and he's sitting on his tailgate, and these three thugs at the age between 13 and 16 pop out of the woods, shoot him in his guts, and steal his money, leaving him. And he had this illegal Mexican, was around 23 years old and had just been married the following weekend, and is now laying on the concrete, dying in my arms, crying, weeping, only wants his wife, as he takes his last and final breaths looking at my ugly ass. And he was killed for a measly $200 in cash by thug teenage gang members who were doing nothing but terrorizing the neighborhood. And by the way, the only thing you hear is that these three black kids that went to prison are getting all of the breaks in this life. Meanwhile, this illegal immigrant who died on the fucking street 1 week after being married, who's doing the right thing, nobody even knows his fucking name.
Yeah.
There's nobody that came to defense for him at all. And that's why the left has become just such this virtue signaling, ideologically radicalized movement that doesn't even have a body to it. It doesn't have a soul to the movement, because what you're defending are literally the bad guys. You're not defending gay rights, because gay rights hasn't been taken away. Nobody's trying to keep gays out of the skate park. The only gays that are trying to be ran off from skate parks are the ones who have their ball sacks hanging out because their shorts are too short, and they know their ball sacks are hanging out, and they know there's kids around, and any reasonable person would run them out of the skate park. But now you've rallied around gay gays and skateboarding, and you're trying to protect gay skateboarding rights, which were never threatened to begin with. And now you're making all these, and you're rallying around one guy whose balls were hanging out. Whereas if there was a girl with a nipple hanging out, we would be running her off of the skate park too. So this whole movement is unreasonable at this point, and you're scaring the real Mexicans that are really trying to work in their haciendas, and you're scaring them, and you're making them live with anxieties that aren't real. Why are you doing that? Why are you torturing them? Why are you torturing the gays that are living a happy life or living their best life and trying to convince them that they should be scared of going to a skate park? Lesbian that I just defriended today on the thing because she won't stop DMing me. I've known her since high school. Literally has put herself in the worst position ever since high school. She was a stripper at like 18. I mean, and then she got raped and sexually assaulted and everything like that. But she worked at a very sleazy strip club. Like probably you could drive by this trucker infested strip club and you're like, God, like fucking, who's not getting raped there? And she, ends up having this threesome with this cop and this other chick. And then there was some chaos and drama there. And he leaves her and then she marries her. And then they have kids and their kids are all, and like her whole life has been a victim. She's just caused chaos in her own life over and over again. And she puts it all out there on the interwebs. And now she's blowing me up in the DMs because she wants me to tell her why she has to explain to her kids that gays can't go to a skate park and yada, yada, and all the stuff. Why are you doing that to your kids? None of it's true. Well, none of this is true. Does that make sense, Jason? No, it's driving me crazy this week because you're not watching the whole series and you're just making assumptions that the character you have chosen is the right character, even though you've chosen Cersei because you didn't see episodes 1, 3, and 6 or whatever it was. You don't know that Cersei is the biggest piece of shit. Or how about all the people that got the mother of dragons before they realized that she's the fucking bad guy. And then you weren't mad because she was the bad guy. You're mad because you were wrong. You didn't watch the whole TV show. A lot of you guys still aren't doing that. You're not watching the whole fucking show.
And it's easier to play the victim, and that's what society, and I'll throw it out there, mainstream media, that's what they're teaching. But and people are gobbling this shit up.
They are gobbling this shit up, and then you know what's happening? Do you know what's happening, Jason? Because they're gobbling up these media lies, these frenzies that aren't true, these Maryland men that are being deported. That's not really happening. You know what's happening? We're getting are these Cinco de Mayo parades that are being canceled because of Trump when we know that they canceled it last year because of gang violence, but now Mexicans are afraid that they can't celebrate Cinco de Mayo because ISIS. Do you know what it causes? It causes Nikita Casps to kill his parents and then try to assassinate Donald Trump and create some kind of political revolution because he thinks and he believes that gays are actually being persecuted, and he actually believes that Mexicans are being persecuted, and that actually Maryland men who are married with families are being deported back to El Salvador. You have Edward Brooks, who's been radicalized into actually carrying out an assassination attempt when he blows off the ear of a president, Matthew Crooks. And then you have Louis Mangione, who so radicalized that he thinks he can walk up behind somebody and blast them in the back of the fucking head. Or the firebombing at Governor Shapiro's mansion because of political rallying, because Shapiro somehow is not as far left as he would like him to be. Of course, the left is now eating their own. We have
Ryan Ruth in Florida.
Ryan Ruth in Florida. Yes.
Tried to assassinate the president
on the golf course.
Who had ties to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Who was attempting to apparently get a rocket launcher from Ukraine.
Yeah. Nikita Kass, same boat. And the kid that killed all have ties back to Ukraine because they've been radicalized because they believe these media lies that somehow Zelensky is nothing, that he's more than just some stupid low grade actor that they use. Well, listen, I'm anti-Russia. Okay, fuck Russia. I'll go to war with Russia over anything. I've seen Rocky 4 and 5, whatever. Like, I get it, right? Like, I'm not a Russian fan at all. I'm not anti-Ukraine either, but I'm also like, I'm not pro government manipulations either. And it's what it's doing is destroying their people. Like, we caused this war. Our government caused these poor people to suffer. And that's sad to me. But again, like Nikita Cassa, we talked about yesterday, all of this is because of these media manipulations and these political lies and political propaganda that people still want to eat. And I want to talk about how that folds into Carmelo Anthony and his bond reduction. And if you don't see how dangerous this is, you're going to see it now. But before I do that, I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about Factor Meals. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat it up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. How many times you guys want to go out on a Sunday afternoon after church? Maybe, by the way, Jason, my family and I, we may have officially found a church, after not going to church for, like 20 plus years. We tried to go back and then COVID happened, yada, yada, yada. But we started going back and we found this church. We've been to it like 2 weeks in a row now. We're starting to actually like it. We like church. We might call it our church in a couple of months. Who knows? But nobody wants to go to church or whatever it is that you do on a Sunday afternoon and then have to weigh in over your head. I got to go to the grocery store. I've got to cook the shrimp. I got to cook the chicken. I got to cook the beef. I got to separate it all. I got to figure out how many calories, macros and micros and all of these things. And then I got to find the Pyrex and the Pytex dish lids, and I got to separate it all. And then I got to figure out which ones I'm going to eat on Monday or Tuesday. You could have just avoided all of that, spent your day outside, hanging out with the fam, making your bets on the football sports games. Factor Meals arrives fresh and ready to eat every week just for you. Perfect for any active lifestyle. 45 weekly menu options. You can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals, calorie conscious, protein heavy, keto, and more. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfast, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, guilt-free snacks, and desserts like those shakes. God, I love those shakes. It's easy to savor more this spring. Factor Meals, pack in the flavor with no fuss. Get started at factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 off and use code. Oh, so now they've changed the promo code to Wolfpack50 off. How cool is that? Wolfpack, one word, 50 off. Wolfpack50 off to get 50% off. Plus, you get free shipping on your first box. That's new too. That code is Wolfpack50 off at factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, chef prepared, fresh, and never frozen, delivered right to your door. I love them. I love Factor Meals. Absolutely love them to death. Okay. I want to get into this Carmelo Anthony bond. Now, if you ever remember, if you've watched all of the episodes, going back to my euphemism here, we had Yusuf Hafsa on a podcast. We did a live show with Yusuf down in Orlando in Kissimmee. And Yusuf was a police officer who was followed in a road rage. He didn't flick these people off. He didn't do anything. They ran the stop sign. They almost hit him. And then they flick him off. He has fully tinted windows. They can't even see who he is, even if he did flick him off. And then they follow him. He tries to make all these different turns to get them to stop following him. They follow him. He ends up onto this dirt road. They cut in front of him. They pass him and they block him in, and they get him. They start approaching his vehicle, and he notices that one of them reaches into their waistband, and he shoots and kills the man. And Yufsa is, they believe, the other individual who says that it was a road rage incident, and they deny his bond completely. They put him in solitary confinement. They don't allow him to have a Quran. Instead, they give him a Bible. They said, we don't have Qurans here, but you can have a Bible. He's in solitary confinement for like 90 plus days because he was a law enforcement officer. And so he has nothing to do but read this fucking Bible. He wasn't getting to see daylight. He wasn't able to have a bond. He wasn't able to see an attorney. He was politically persecuted because he was considered to be white, even though his name is Yusuf Hafsa and he's Muslim and he's a practicing Muslim. He's always been a practicing Muslim, and he's denied all of these things, and his bond was set at $1 million+ dollars. And he's lived a life that's proven up until this point that he is an honest and just person leading up to this. Whereas then we have this Karmelo kid who shows up, goes to the wrong tent, sits in the wrong tent. There's tons. And by the way, I've read the police report thanks to one of our fans who actually sent me the police report that they were able to get from another from the agency. And so witness statement after witness statement, none of the witness statements, one, contradict themselves. So if you go to the hood and you start reading witness statements, see, people in the hood will just start talking because that's part of hood culture.
Right.
But they all contradict themselves. They'll say it was a black man. They'll say it's a white man. They'll say it's a short black man. They'll say it's a tall white man. Because they're just saying shit because they want to be a part of the drama, because they need the attention. They want some of the attention on them. That's part of hood culture. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's part of that. That culture is part of the culture that probably needs to change. But here we have at a track meet in a high school culture where we have high schoolers that are not in the hood. They're not being manipulated. They all have these very similar tellings of what happened. And on none of it matches up to the one person who is probably put himself in a position where he's not very believable. He doesn't really have a real excuse of why he's sitting in another school's tent, other than he was there to maybe steal stuff. He was asked politely to move, and he doesn't move. I witnessed this at a skate park, where this guy brought his own chair. This white gentleman brought his own chair, and he set his own chair up, and he had his cooler. And this black gentleman with tattoos all over his face, who has actually been trespassed from a lot of things. And I've actually been in a fight with him. I've actually, it was broken up before it got started, but my child was like 4 years old, and he said, "Get this goddamn kid out of my fucking face."
Wow.
And I was like, "Hey man, first of all, he's a child." And then that's all I said. I says, "Hey man, first of all, this guy's a child." And then he bowed up to me. I said, "What, you want to fight over this? Like, you tell me." And all of his buddies gathered up. And I said, "Are you guys friends with this guy right here? Tell me, is it reasonable to have a 4-year-old child who is skateboarding, who is trying to be like you, and he's doing all the things, right? He's not scootering, he's not on his knees, he's actually trying to skateboard. Do you think it's reasonable that if he accidentally gets in your way one time, that you shout, 'Get this goddamn kid out of my face'? Do any of you guys think that is reasonable?" And they were like, "Man, did you say that to that boy?" And he was like, "Well, man, I'm trying to lay this shit." And they're like, "Man, dog, you need to chill, dog. Like, man, it ain't that serious, dog. That ain't that serious." And I said, "Thank you. Where would you like him to skate that he is not in your way?" And he just stared at me. He still wanted to fight, Jason. He still wanted to fight me. And I said, "No, listen, tell me. I'm asking you. I'm not trying to fight you. I will take my child to skate anywhere that you want. Just tell me where you want to go." And so he wanted. So this same character, this same nefarious character, who was who was trespassed for a sexual assault at another skate park. He's at this different skate park, a third skate park. He's sitting in this white guy's chair, and he's got his foot up on his cooler. And this guy has no idea who he is. And so he approaches him. He says, "Hey, man, I'm about to sit down and get into my cooler and take a water break. I'm going to hit this trick. So if I could get my chair back." So he hits the trick. He comes back, and the guys won't move. And he's like, "Hey man, get on the chair." And he's like, "Fuck you." And he's like, "No, dude, like, I'm telling you, get out of my fucking chair." And he gets up and he hits this guy for no fucking reason in the face with his skateboard. And this guy has to get like 10 or 15 staples in his head. We have to call the ambulance, and this guy takes off running. So like, what's the point? There's no purpose there. And of course, he spreads this rumor around that it was racism and that the way people were trying to run on, they wouldn't let him sit. And all this big rage about how, this big little movement, it wasn't a big movement, it was a little movement about how, we need to keep racism. They started graffiti and keep racism out of our parks. It had nothing to do with racism.
It's called human decency.
It's called human decency. It's called, this guy's a piece of shit, and you're going to believe him over this other white kid when this guy is known to be a piece of shit at all these other parks, but you're going to believe him over this kid that's never been in any trouble. Again, we have the same thing going on with Karmelo Anthony here, where all the witness statements are generally the same. We even have the father coming out that's now been a part of the investigation saying that, like, they've now learned that there was no phone involved, no phones got thrown, and there wasn't even a shove. It was more of a putting their hand out, like, get back, get out of this tent, before he was fucking stabbed in the chest with a knife at a high school event. Now, Karmelo Anthony bail was reduced to $250,000. Let that sink in. Sure. And now his family is renting a home allegedly at this point. Now, I haven't backed that up yet, so like, I'm not going to get too mad about it, but they have had to move for political safety and all the things. So this guy's being granted safety and all these things. Where was that for Daniel Holtzclaw? Where was that for Sergeant Mattingly? Where was all of that for Kyle Rittenhouse? Where was all of that? The list goes on and on and on. But Karmelo Anthony's bond gets reduced. Why? Because
exactly what I was gonna ask.
Love to celebrate in this country the MS-13 gang members. We love to support the bad guy. And that is why I'm telling you, That is your problem with the left right now. Is y'all keep rallying around these fucking turds. Daniel Penny. You know Daniel Penny's story. You did know Daniel Penny's story, but you refused to look at how good Daniel Penny was as a person. You refused to see that he was actually a hippie, an ayahuasca hippie that wanted to do the right thing, that didn't want to be in this position, wanted to live a life of peace. He was a pacifist. He left the Marine Corps to be a pacifist. You refused to see the narrative, and you took the story of this one guy who, unfortunately, his mother was murdered and everything, but you didn't even tell that story either, but lived a life of violent crimes and was a blight on society from that minute forward, again, justifiably or not. But you took his side. You took Breonna Taylor's side because the media told you that she was asleep in her room, that she was an EMT worker. None of that was true. She was a suspect in two murders where she rented a car. One was an attempted murder and one was actually a murder. She rented the car, and her gang member boyfriend of years and years, the same one that got her killed, was out committing murders and drive-bys through their gangs. She was running money and drugs to trap houses. That's what led to the whole investigation. She was not innocent of anything. She was a massive piece of shit and living by the sword. She died by the sword, but you rallied around her, and you rallied against Sergeant Mattingly, who was actually a family man, who's actually sacrificed, coached, volunteered, has done things for his community. And you took the side of the gang members, the lifelong gang members who were involved in murder and attempted murder and other various crimes. You took their side, and that is why it's like so hard for anybody to rally around. And that is why your party has lacked any kind of body or soul to it. And you guys are losing in these elections because we, the people, are sick of it. Rational people, reasonable people are sick of these things that you just continue to rally around and allow the media to get you in a frenzy. And of course, you don't watch the fucking episodes, and then you come to a guy like me who wants to be in the middle, and it's hard to be in the middle because you guys are just so daggone brainwashed that it makes me seem like an Alex Jones style crazy person. But here we have it. Carmelo Anthony's bond has been reduced to $250,000. I want to get into this last thing really fast. Space flight, the whole space flight, because I want to keep it fun and flirty for the next 4 minutes. Let's go with the live chats here, guys. Let's go to the live chats. Do you guys think, and I'm going to read your chats, so go ahead, be creative, do it quickly. Do you think that they went to space? Do you think Katy Perry and all of them actually went to space, or do you think this was just some kind of propaganda stunt?
They went to the grasp of space.
Sure.
I will give you that. And they rode a huge phallic symbol, which I just find absolutely amusing.
So funny. I want to play this to you though, because if I were to imagine going to space, okay, close your eyes. I'm imagining right now that I'm going to space. I'm breaking through the clouds and climbing up, and I, go into this, and I'm not going into orbit or whatever, but I'm going into space, right? And I imagine myself, I'm looking out this window and I'm seeing this flat earth. I'm just kidding. This marbled earth, this beautiful marbled earth. I'm picturing it in my brain, and then I fall back down to the earth, and then I imagine what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do. If I were to imagine going to space and I was to pretend that I actually went to space, this is exactly what I would sound like and look like once I got onto the ground.
Katie!
I would kiss the ground, no doubt. I would praise the Lord.
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
What the fuck did she just say?
Bro, that's what I would say if I went, you don't know, Jason, because you haven't been there, brother. I was just there. I just told you. I crested the clouds, Jason, and I looked down at the marbled earth. That's how you don't know, because you haven't been there, you idiot.
You idiot. I would hope that you had something a little more profound that had some substance, because that had the zero.
Well, go to space and see what you come up with. That's all I can say.
Oh my God. Oh, I used to like Katy Perry too. No, I don't.
Let's see. So
that was my hall pass.
It was paid for by a man, says our pre-mind.
and
He
driven.
says she wrote a dick paid for by a man. If Elon had no part in it, 100% fake. If Elon had a part in it, then it's maybe real. Joseph Wooten says, absolutely not. Corn Pop says, laugh my fucking ass off. Greg LaMontagne from The Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. By the way, I know they're going to they do all the fun, flirty news. I do all the dark news. But The Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. They always do the fun, flirty stuff, and they have like a really fun take. Like, I cannot wait to hear their take on the fucking dick missile that went up to space, full of women. Nope, there's a new video out where the door opens prematurely. So I knew it. I knew they were going to have something good to say. Make sure you go and follow The Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. Such a fun podcast. Their lives are super fun too. And let's keep going because there's some more in here. Murph530 says that rocket looks like a giant dong. Katy Perry stuck in space for 8 months would have been gold.
That would have been
great.
Divine intervention right there.
Corn Pop says, what is this bitch babbling about? She did 14 hours of training and the whole ride was like 12 minutes. And she's getting like a lot more notoriety than like real fucking astronauts, which is funny. Oh my gosh. Is there an auto feature where the stupid starts talking? My favorite Katy Perry moment in the interview with Franco and Kim Young are in the tank. Bezos paid for the whole trip for his wife on the trip. Whoops, too soon. The cameras aren't ready. Somebody else says. Really funny things. So just to keep it fun and flirty. So there are some imagery coming out. We all know that when Katy Perry performed Dark Horse, here's a picture of it on our YouTube page here. The 56th annual Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. She did the Dark Horse, which is very like satanic. So she had this like cross bikini on that made her look super sexy. Anytime you use the cross to make you look sexy, blasphemous, right? Blasphemous. Yeah. I would never use like the Jewish star or any kind of like Mormon shit to look sexy. We don't do that. No other religion would tolerate it. And I don't think society would tolerate it either. Like if you try to use a Quran and you put it over, you would be seen as like some kind of like Muslim phobic, Islamophobic, racist. Imagine if you put like Jewish stars on your nippies. Like, you know what I'm saying? You'd be like in like an anti-Anne Franker or something. You know what I mean? Like nobody would tolerate that. But for whatever reason, it's fun to mock Jesus, which is why I believe the Bible, because the Bible actually says that, right? Like it says that you're going to be mocked and ridiculed and that, and it's true. Like it's the one religion worldwide that is just mocked and made fun of, which, again, prophesied in the Bible. So here she is with this sexy little cross covering up her boobs, showing all of her stuff with some kind of satanic ghoul behind her and the fire and a stripper pole. I mean, how blasphemous can you get? It's kind of disgusting, to be frank with you. I would never flirt around, make fun of Muslims or make fun of any religion, because like, what if I'm fucking wrong? You know what I mean? I mean, it's bad enough that I'm gonna have to go to hell or purgatory or whatever, but I don't want to like then be like, yeah, remember this motherfucker? Like, you remember when you came out wearing this shit? Like,
look at this receipt, sir.
You're going to extra hell, bitch. Like fucking hell. Yeah. Anyway, here's a picture of the broads that landed. We're the fat girls, by the way, in this picture, women that went to space. We're the fatties. We're the fatty baddies. We're the pink-haired mental illness nose ring furries.
Fuel cost too much.
I don't know. It doesn't seem very inclusive. Just seems like a bunch of size 2s going up in that plane. Maybe you could take that and use it for motivation to get on the right path. So here we go. Here's a pentagram that I pulled up. This is a patch that you can get. It's a pentagram patch that you can get on Amazon for $16.99 if you're into Satan and Satanism and that shit. Cool. Here's what that patch looks like. And then here is the patch upside down that went to space recently. Boom. Can we see any correlation there? I mean, let's break it down, right? So you've got these two things jetting out the side of this, this cow head. Let's just look at the middle, right? Look at the head, right? There's something coming straight down the middle of the head, right? So if you can imagine, if you're just watching, imagine like some kind of ram's head shape with something going straight down the middle. Okay. And then we look at this patch. We have a ram's like a ram's style head with something coming straight down the middle that tapers all the way down to the nose, just like this, right? Tapers all the way down to the nose, goes bigger and then smaller down to the nose. Okay. And now I pulled this myself. Like all I typed in was pentagram patch. This is the first thing that comes up on Instagram. I'm not I didn't have to stretch for this. You can do the same experiment I did. Now you see the horns coming out of the head. Go to the patch. We've got horns coming out of the head. Then we have something jetting out the middle of the head here. We don't have it in this one, but there's another patch that's going to have something jetting right out of the top of the head. Then you got these little wings coming out to the side. Over here, you got the wings coming out to the side. You see the little wings?
I'm never going to be able to unsee that now. Wow.
Right? Doesn't it all? And then you've got this kind of like thing. So let me show you a different satanic patch that I downloaded myself. Let's see. Let me go one more here. Beep, 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 beep. Nope, that's the same patch. I apologize. We don't have a producer here today, so is it this one here? Nope, the same patch again. I apologize. 1 minute here. It's fun 30 times, so we don't have to be professional. It's okay. It's okay.
That is absolutely amazing, the correlation, though.
Okay, now so here's the big one. This is why is this being gay? Why are you gay? Why are you gay? Okay, let's remove this one here. Remove. There we go. So, yeah, here we go. Oh, sorry. Boop, boop. I'm sorry. Boop. hang on. Here we go. Bomb. All right. So here we go. Now we have the ram-shaped head, correct?
Yep.
We got this thing that tapers all the way down there. Now we have this thing shooting out of the top, right? Now this is the actual statue of Baphomet, Satan himself, the satanic symbol himself. Look at this. Boom. Look at the little stick right out the top of the head.
Oh my God.
Now this is the Wikipedia. This is the Wikipedia Baphomet. This is like right on Wikipedia. I'm like, I didn't have to look for like a symbol. Like this is like the first symbol that comes up. So the first symbol that comes up, super identical, right? Look at all the little flurry stuff coming out to the side on the spaceship there. And then all the flurry stuff coming out off the horns here. I mean, I don't know, man. Like I get it. Like I get where they say this thing looks ominously. And of course we know that like Katy Perry's a conspiracy. So at the end of the day, it's like, are they doing it on purpose? Are they just trying to like, do they think that that's what's going to get the clicks? Because I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, it doesn't seem very coincidental at this point, right? Like it doesn't seem like you just accidentally created this to look just like the satanic patch.
Right.
Like very, very fucking close.
Well, and what's funny is, that little spaceship in the patch, you flipped upside down where it does look like that.
But it doesn't look upside down. It looks like exactly right side up.
Right. But the whole patch, but the fact that spaceship doesn't even look like what the fucking spaceship looks like.
Right. And nothing to do.
Because they can't put a big wiener on it, on the patch. Nobody would wear it.
I would wear it.
I'd wear it.
I'd wear it real fucking hard. All right, guys. Hey, thank you guys so much. Make sure you go and pre-order Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story, the funniest and craziest, wildest police story ever written, up available for pre-order right now. If you send me a DM or a message saying that you pre-ordered my book, I will send you a artist rendition bookmark by first responder artist Jonathan Bates of me tasing a girl in the vagina allegedly from the book. If you buy one for a first responder, I will send you all 4 of the artistic renditions of different stories from the book with Bruno, Red, and Thor. So that deal is going to end in the next week because I am starting to mail these things out next week, and I have literally hundreds and hundreds of DMs, which is crazy because a lot of people that pre-order the book then have sent me DMs. So thank God, because I'm sending out tons of, it's going to take me a full 12-hour day to send all these out. If you want to get on that, I am going to end it next week. So go ahead and pre-order now and get you that book. Make sure you follow One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. The Bar's Open with Beth and Greg. Also have the Holtzclaw episode number 2 is out on the free Holtzclaw podcast. It's up on Spotify. We'll be on Apple soon. Head over to Spotify and download Holtzclaw podcast. The free Holtzclaw podcast, and be a part of that journey. Also, you can join us on Patreon for less than a cup of coffee a month. G.I. Joe says it the best. Maybe you didn't know about how crazy the media is lying to you. Maybe you didn't know about the Cinco de Mayo gang violence in Chicago that is causing Cinco de Mayo to be canceled. And maybe you didn't know about Karmelo Anthony's bond being set really high. Maybe the political extreme and the firebombing of Shapiro's office by another Democrat. Maybe you didn't know about Nikita Cass, Matthew Brooks, Edward Brooks, Luigi Mangione. The list goes on and on. But now you do know, and knowing is half the battle. Until next time, we'll see you on Friday on Failure to Stop. Cheers.
Cheers.